Good morning. Okay, so I've missed you all. I apologize. I have not done a live since I think Friday, and it's Thursday, so almost a week. Um, so I'm talking about struggles today, and I've actually been struggling with trying to do live videos for the past week because for some reason, all of a sudden, every time I try to go on Zoom, Facebook, anything, it was not allowing me to go live. I would get these messages that you need to do updates. I would do the updates. I've started my computer over I don't know how many times to get the updates to take, and they haven't taken. So here I am, old school, on my phone. Not the best lighting, any of that kind of stuff, but we're going to make it work because that's how I roll. I'm a person that if something doesn't work, I'm going to get it to work. Keeping God in mind, though, I have learned that lesson. But I wanted to speak specifically to women today, women who are struggling in life with whatever, because we all have struggles. Like I said, just this struggle with the going live lately, it's been kind of frustrating. But one of the things that I recognize too is that when we get frustrated with struggles, it creates stress in our lives. And that frustration comes because we want something a certain way, we want it right now, and it's not going the way that we want it to go. So we get stressed out and we get frustrated, which causes us to struggle. And I know that this is across the board, everyone in life struggles, but speaking, specifically to women, because that's where my heart is with women. So I want to come to you and help and say, hey, I know that a lot of you are struggling, but you don't have to struggle at least every day. I had a friend tell me once that she pretty much is always waiting for that other shoe to drop. She's, waiting for that next thing to happen. And it broke my heart. I don't want to live life that way. I don't want anyone living life the way where they think, okay, I'm just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. No one said life's going to be easy, and I get that. I know that. But I do think a lot of times we make it harder than it needs to be. So that's what I wanted to share today. So what do you need to do to get off that struggle bus? It all starts here. I talk about it all the time. It's a head thing. So our brains get programmed to think a certain way. And we have to consciously step in and change how we think and how we look at our lives and ourselves. So the perspective you have about yourself is huge. And that's where I want to start, is talking about awareness. So first of all, take a look around you, take a look at the world around you, especially right now. Things are not normal right now. Things are kind of wild and crazy. They're very unknown. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day, and that bothers people. It kind of gets our brains, going like this, because we're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Am I going to get to go back to work? Am I going to be able to feed my family? Do I need to start figuring different things out? So the world around us, yes, that definitely has an impact on the way that we see things. So you need to be able to guard your heart and guard your mind towards how you see the world around you, because we can get caught up in the negative, the news, the way that the media portrays everything. So try to stop looking at the world around you through worldly eyes and use godly eyes. Number one. So this is awareness of what's around you. You also have to take a look at yourself, physically. How are you in this world? So you're part of this worldly world. Physically, how are you? Do you play into that negativity? Do you believe everything that you are, fed from the media? I stopped watching the news years ago. I know I've shared this many times, but I don't like how I feel when I watch the news. Like, I have had issues with anxiety and depression in the past, and I just watching the news just, yeah, it just does something to my heart and soul that I'm like, God, this is, if I need to know something, God will make sure that I know about it. Hey, Jessica. So take a look at yourself, how you are participating in the world, what your perspective is. And then the last part of awareness is self-awareness. So not just your physical self, but your spiritual self. So again, you are living in a worldly world, but we need to have God in the world. And so this is about that spiritual awareness of who you are inside. And I know for me, it was this awakening of realizing that I did not have a godly view of myself. My view of myself was based on what I thought others thought about me, which, man, that's a whole nother day in discussion. But, you know, I've shared before, like, I thought my value was way down here, and I thought that's where others saw me as well. And I finally had this, you know, this epiphany, this awakening from God that that's not how God sees me. I am a saint to God. And I don't mean saint in the that I'm perfect, but again, that's a whole nother day and whole nother talk. But God sees us as his children, and he loves us. We are his creation. And so it's all about, if you want to stop struggling in life, we have to have awareness of ourselves, the world around us, and how we kind of mesh and go together with this world around us. I think too often we just kind of go through life, you know, just like day by day. We don't put a lot of thought into it. A lot of what we do is just out of habit. I talked the other day about status quo and our just, you know, life just kind of being, you know, like straight across the board. We just accept it for what it is. But we have so much more power than we realize, than we give ourselves credit for. So when you have awareness of the power that you have, the world around you, who you really are and who you were created to be, I promise life will start to look differently. If you're like my friend who's saying every day I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall, for something else bad to happen, then guess what? Something else bad is going to happen. But if you wake up every day saying, okay, God, I'm ready. What do you have for me good today? Guess what? You're going to start seeing some goodness in your life. So then the second thing, so we have awareness, and the second thing is, who are you really? Remember, you are a child of God, and that is huge, huge, huge. You are a child of God. That is so important. So that is how you should be viewing yourself, as a child of God. And remember that he loves you no matter what mistakes you have made in the past. No matter, you know, oh my gosh, we don't have enough time in a day to talk about all the dumb, stupid things, the mistakes, the bad choices, all those things that I've done in my life. But we don't need to have guilt or feel shame or even regret, because we can't change anything in the past. It's all about who we are now and who we're going to be each day from now on. So think about what you're afraid of, because that is tied to who we are and how we live our lives too. So if we focus on fear, then guess what? You're going to get a lot of fears. And I've had a lot of fears in my life. I was terrified of speaking in front of people. So I shared in my book, Defeating Your Greatest Opponent, I shared a story about when I was in 11th grade, my junior year in high school. We had to do a speech in English class. I have no recollection whatsoever what that speech was about, but I do remember the results of that speech. And that was when I had finished giving my speech in English class. I was going to my seat in the back of the room, because that's where shy, quiet people like myself like to sit. Out of sight, out of mind was always my hope. So go sit in the back, and on my way to my seat, I had a fellow classmate, good-looking guy, tell me, you know, he's like, you said, like, you know, 20 sometimes and 20 sometimes. I was mortified. I only wish I would have had the forethought back then to say, like, oh, you were paying attention, but I didn't. I was mortified. And I let that one moment in time change who I was. I gave my power over to someone else. I just got to this place where I stopped talking because I was so embarrassed. I was scared. I wouldn't say the right things. And this carried with me for years and years and years after. I mean, years. So I just, I wanted one of those things like the past. I want to go back and kick myself, but I know that I can't do that. And thankfully I have changed. But even in college, like I carried that with me. And so I avoided taking speech class like the plague. I found what was called an interpersonal communication class that I took in place of speech. And the crazy thing is, everything I've done, every job I've had since college, they've all required speaking. I've been in so many groups. And when I say I don't like to, or I didn't like to speak, I didn't like to even introduce myself and be like, hey, my name's Kelly from whatever organization. Like, hated to do it. So that fear consumed my life. So what I'm asking you to do is look at your life and say, like, okay, what fears consume me? Because guess what? I struggled because of that fear. It added to my sense of my worth is down here. I felt low. I know other people feel this way, and I didn't know that back then, but I know that now, and so that's why I do this, because I don't want anyone living life with fears controlling them, with worry about what others think about you. Like, it's not that it's irrelevant, because our character integrity come into play, but we can't let others define us. Like, not at all. Like, we just cannot let others define us. And that's what I was doing. And so what I did with those fears is I met them head on. I was like, okay, like, this keeps coming up where over the years, even after I became a mom, like, I kept getting put into positions where I needed to be up in front of people and speaking. And so I just was kind of like, okay, God, like, you've got a great sense of humor. And then here I wasn't prepared to learn how to speak because I hadn't taken speech class. So I've been teaching myself and investing in myself, learning how to do that all of these years. So a lot of times that's what you need to do, is to face your fears head on. And I'm not telling you to go today and jump out of a plane if you're afraid of heights or, anything like that. We have to take baby steps to get there. And that's what I did. I started speaking in front of smaller groups, and it's grown from there. And really, the other thing too with this is, when you take into consideration my awareness of starting to figure out who I was, that I'm a child of God, that I'm not who others say I am, and then facing my fears, life really started to change. And that's the thing that, we're all here. That's the third thing, is that we're all here for a purpose and for a reason. And so when you have that self-awareness and you have your identity figured out and know who you are, then you can really start leaning in to the purpose that God created for you. And so that's what happened in my life. I started, like I said, figuring out, like, okay, God has me in front of people for a reason. And that helped me with this process of, figuring out that God has me here for a specific reason. He has you here on this planet. You were created for a specific reason. And if you haven't figured that out yet, that's okay. But just embrace that and know that you are here for a reason and a purpose. I also think that, our reason and purpose, it kind of changes with the seasons of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. So just keep that in mind. Specific reason that you are here. Purpose, 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 purpose. So over the years, I've gotten more and more clarity on what my purpose is, but I have known for the longest time that it's had to do with God, that it's just had to do with helping and empowering other people, specifically women, to get past those strongholds that we have in our lives, because that's what holds us back. That's what keeps you from, living your best self, living your best life, because we have these fears of what other people say and what other people think. And so we don't fully live out our purpose. But I am here to help you to escape those strongholds, to transform past that, okay? So that you can become a champion in life, so that you can live a life of happiness each and every day. And if you listen to me at all, one of the things that you know about me is that I speak truth, and I promise you it's out of love from my heart. But one of the things that holds us back, that keeps us on that struggle bus, is that we see ourselves as victims a lot of times. And I figured that out about myself. I was already doing some speaking. I had already invested in myself. And I realized one day that I was blaming other people for what had happened in my life. We blame for why we're not further ahead in life. I was making excuses for, why I was in this situation. And then I was living in denial. And it's not a good place to be. I was denying who I was meant to be, my purpose. And I see this all the time. I was like living this pity party. And I had this moment with God where he honestly just kind of met me in my pity party and embraced me and was like, let me know, like, you're an overcomer. You've got this. This isn't what I created you for. And I'm telling you right now, God didn't create any of us to be victims of our circumstances. We have power and authority on this earth. And, I think of all of this in light of the COVID-19 and everything that's happening. And no, we can't control that. We can't control what's going on with the COVID-19, but we can control how we react or respond to that. And believe me, it makes a huge difference. So if you choose to just instantly get mad and angry and let that control you, then you're going to stay on the struggle bus. But if you're able to respond and say, okay, this is the situation that's at hand. This is what I'm going to do to deal with it. That's how you get off the struggle bus. You hold the keys to your struggle. And again, I'm not like putting blame on you and saying, oh, like if your life sucks right now, it's all your fault. Not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you don't have to be a victim in life. You are meant to be victorious. And by having awareness and knowing your identity and discovering your purpose, which those are all things that I help people do, then you can get to a point where you don't see life as a struggle day in and day out. It's like stepping into a whole new world. It really is. And to get there, all you have to do is take that first step. And that's what I'm here for. So if you are struggling, man, woman, child, whatever, feel free to reach out to me. But like I said, I'm specifically speaking to women today because I just have a heart for women, single moms, women who've been, in divorce situations, domestic violence. But there's no more waiting. Today's the day. Let me help you get off that struggle bus and change your life. I want to see that for you. I want to see you not hurting any longer. I want to help you stop hurting, to transform your life and change to be the person that God intended for you to be. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. So this is the big takeaway. that you can make changes. You're not a victim of your life. You're not a victim of your circumstances. We all have the power. We've got the keys to the struggle bus. You can keep starting it and keep getting on every day and waiting, for the next bad thing to happen. Or you can use those keys to take control and say, I'm done struggling. I'm going to do something about my life and my struggles and my circumstances. So if that's one of your goals in life, to see some improvement, then you're in the right place. What I'd like to do right now is just invite you to visit my website, kellyreneebaker.com, and there's a little form on there that you can fill out that will lead you to get emails from me each week. It will talk about updates, all kinds of things that can help you. There are things on my website. There are quizzes and assessments and things to help you figure out, like your next steps. And most of all, I want to see you all succeed and have an amazing life, because I know you can. So you don't have to struggle anymore. Transformation is waiting for you. The first step that you can take is just visiting my website, kellyreneebaker.com, and filling out that form so that you can get emails and also take the quizzes to kind of, figure out where you're at. Reach out to me. I'm here. I love to help people, and I want you to remember that you are a child of God and you are a champion. Have a great day.